my chair is just something different. It's not going to be anything liminal space related, but it is something that I think would be interesting to talk about. So, as you all know, it is currently 2022 right now, and you already know what I'm about to talk about when you see the title, alright? Talking about home. I'm not talking about my house. I'm talking about PlayStation Home. Now, you're probably wondering, PlayStation Home? What's that? So, if you're new to PlayStation, or have never heard of PlayStation Home before, let me fill you in. So, PlayStation Home was a social interaction gaming platform made by Sony Interactive Entertainment Europe. Of course, formerly it was called Sony Computer Entertainment Europe, but now they're called Interactive Entertainment. But basically, think of PlayStation Home sort of like what, Second Life is, or VR Chat, where you have your own avatar, you could customize them, stuff like that. You have different places you could go to. But the service first launched as an open beta in December of 2008. To be more precise, it was December 11th of 2008. And the service ran as a perpetual beta from that date until March 31st, 2015, where it was closed down. Please note I say closed down, not shut down. Typically, when there's a beta and they close down the servers after a certain period of time, it means that at a later point they'll be bringing back that service, preferably in a more complete form. Now, what am I getting at? Well, first things first, PlayStation London Studio. These are the very same people that originally made PlayStation Home back in the day. Of course, at that time, they were referred to as SCEE, or Sony Computer Entertainment Europe. But it was actually London Studio that created it. As it says here. Now, what's interesting is that Home started development in 2005, and originally it was going to be an online hub for one of their getaway games that they were making. However, when development shifted over to PS3, they decided to scrap that idea, and they instead decided, you know what? We should do something bigger. So after they scrapped the initial idea, they kept the idea of an online social platform. Not, like Facebook or something like that. It wasn't that. Like I said, it's sort of like what Second Life is, or what VR Chat kind of is. Although with VR Chat you choose your avatar and not customize it. But it's important to note that the original development of Home first started off as something related to the getaway. But you're probably wondering, what could you do in PlayStation Home anyway? So there was lots to do, actually. So you could create and customize your own avatar. Of course, if it was your first time playing, you would choose from a preset avatar, but you could customize them right after that. But you had personal spaces, which are, give it sort of like, my bedroom could be something of a personal space. If you think about it, it's my own place that I stay in. Like a house. That's what a personal space would be in PlayStation Home, is just, they also called it an apartment, but they didn't all look like apartments, I guess, but they were called private spaces, personal spaces, apartments, you name it. For a moment, if it were in PlayStation Home, I'm not saying it is, but that would be considered a, you know, personal space because it would be like a place you could spawn at once you set it up as that. By default, you would have one called Harbor Studio, and no, sorry, I was checking to see if my PS5 was still on. Let me show you. So, that phone. Um, but this is what Harbor Studio was. It was the first personal space. So, this is what I mean by a personal space in PlayStation Home. It was a private area where you could spend your time alone in, but you could also invite friends over if you wanted to hang out. You could customize it however you saw fit by moving furniture around, adding new furniture, customizing it however you wanted. But then we had public spaces. So that could be something like, you know, uh, I'm a really fast typer. Um, uh, Trying to remember. So, you can kind of see it in this image, but that's basically what the hub looked like. You can also kind of see it in these images. Um, but essentially, PlayStation Home had the personal spaces, which, as I already talked about, were the home spaces that you could go to, customize, all that jazz. But then we have public spaces, for example, the hub. There was the mall, which is related to the hub. It's like I mean, you would have to teleport there, but, let me check it on here. No, that looks cool. So it says here, never mind. So this is what I would call the hangout area, hangout area of the hub. They would have music playing that was made for the game. So it's not like made by big name artists like Eminem or anything like that. It's literally just people who've been contracted to make the music for PlayStation Home. Which I occasionally listen to in my free time whenever I just want to relax and chill. But they have some benches over here you could sit on. And they would occasionally have stuff like this, which that was for a mini game. Yeah, they had games within the game. But you're probably thinking, wait, home was a game? Although it wasn't explicitly called a game, it was very much a game in that you would play it, obviously. But for one, it was free to play. Now, granted, it was freemium, so you could play it for free, but there were items that you would have to buy. Not everything was purchasable with money. There were some free items. You could also get free items just from playing minigames and stuff like that. You would even be given them for, going to a place for the first time. I honestly think that's really, really cool. We'll get to this in a moment. Actually, this is slightly outdated, but I'll get to that in a moment. So, the key thing to take away from this is that, We have the personal spaces, which are the home spaces. We have the public spaces, which is where you could meet other players, and a majority of them would have mini games. For example, the hub. Um, if you saw right there, there was a game called Cogs, and it was like a slider puzzle game where you had to slide certain little cubes or square things, and you would have to redirect some steam somewhere. Um, but then there was Pier Park, which let me pull it up real quick. Nope. Why did I do that? There we go. So this was Pier Park. Had a Ferris wheel. It wasn't quite as large physically as say the hub, but that's okay. It didn't need to be like gigantic. It just needed to be, something people could hang out at. And what's really cool is, and I'll get back to the Pier Park thing in a second, but the hub had its own little teleporter that you could use to go to different spaces, to different mini games, which is really cool. Um, but Pier Park was much the same in that it had its own teleporter. Um, it also had its own uh, public spaces you could go to just by walking up to doors that were at buildings. So there was a home theater, and I don't mean home theater like having a theater set up in your home. It was literally like a cinema, like a movie theater. Speaking of which, I really hope the one near me opens up soon. Probably won't. But hey, you can dream. But the home theater, it had different theater rooms that would allow you to watch video machinimas made in PlayStation Home by the community. And they were sometimes cheesy, but they were still pretty cool. There would be some game trailers, some movie trailers, there would be game announcements. I think I heard somewhere that they might have even used them for events, which is really cool. They even had a few arcade cabinets, not like actual arcade games, mind you, but they were their own arcade games made for home. One of them was a little shoot 'em up game called a Scribble Shooter, and the game was supposed to look like a crudely drawn shmup game. So it's like, it wasn't like a super, super detailed game, mind you. It was like, it literally looked like you were just flying a crudely drawn spaceship, shooting, ugh, shooting at bad guys with like lasers and stuff. And I remember playing that. It was pretty cool. But you could play that in PlayStation Home. But of course, it was also good for hanging out with friends. There were some other places as well, such as uh, oh, trying to think. Also, what? Oh, okay. I thought that was like saying, "Oh, there's cheat codes for home." There isn't. This right here is Indie Park, which I haven't gotten to yet. It was a public space that allowed you to go to. I'm having all sorts of brain farts tonight. I'm sorry. Um. Anyway, so the Indie Park, of course, with the namesake, it was focused on indie games made by indie developers. So it was just small games made by small teams, or just, small mini games. Um, But then there was the sports walk, which is focused on sports stuff. Like they would have live coverage of sports related events like football, soccer, basketball, hockey, baseball, things like that. It would have its own trivia game. But as time went on, and mind you, you're listening to someone who first joined PSN almost 10 years ago, and at the same time played home almost 10 years ago. Because, truth be told, I joined PlayStation Network about a week before Christmas. Uh, about 10 years ago. Because I joined it 2012. And after I joined it, I decided to try out PlayStation Home. And, it changed me. It opened my eyes to not only just what online gaming could be like, but it opened my eyes and it let me see a massive community of people who I still interact with to this day. And if it weren't for PlayStation Home, I wouldn't be interested in social interaction video games or anything for that matter. Hell, I wouldn't even be that interested in GTA Online, even though, I mean, granted, I was already interested in open world games, but in this case, home, like, I would like to. This is gonna sound really, really stupid when I say it, but when you really boil it down, PlayStation Home and GTA Online have something in common. A few things. Namely, you could hang out with friends just like you could in home. Now, granted, GTA Online is a more mature environment, but when you really think about it, there's a lot of similarities because you could hang out with friends. There were some social spaces that Rockstar made for GTA Online, starting with for example, we have the nightclub DLC that we got in 2018. That brought nightclubs to the game not only as a business front, but you could also hang out with friends within a nightclub that either you owned or they owned. And you would get to listen to music and dance, and it was its own little mini game, which is pretty cool. I think you could actually get rewards for it too. But what else is cool is they added on to that with the Diamond Casino and Resort the following year in 2019, which added the casino, and there was the roof terrace. And mind you, I'll be talking about the Diamond Casino and Resort a little bit later when I talk about my wishes for this theoretical returning PlayStation Home. Because I know for a fact it is coming back sometime this year. It hasn't been told to me, but I know. Deep within my mind, I know. But if you really, really think about it, with those social spaces, which, getting back to that, December 2019, we saw the Diamond Casino heist, which I'm not focusing on the heist part of that. I'm talking about the arcades, because you could build up your own arcade, and you could have friends come over there and play your arcade games, which is really cool. So my brain is just mush. That in and of itself could be considered a social space, because you could have friends over in your arcade and play games. Then 2020 came along. December rolled around. I'd rather not talk about the rest of that year because it was utter shit. Hell, I lost a family member to what happened that year, so that should tell you something. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. 2020 brought the Cayo Perico heist in mid-December. Not only bringing the actual heist, but the beach party and the Music Locker nightclub that is located at the casino. So that is two social spaces. So, circling back to the amount of social spaces that we have in GTA Online, and I guess the yacht could count too. So, yacht, nightclub, casino, roof terrace at the casino. Let's see. Music Locker, Cayo Perico Beach Party, which in order to unlock the beach party, you have to complete the heist once. That's it. You don't have to do like some crazy thing. So, yacht, nightclub, casino, roof terrace, music locker, beach party. Oh, right. Then last year we got the tuners update, which has been nerfed. We'll get to that in a moment. But the tuners update brought the car meet, which is a social space where people can see you customizing your car. You could play with other people in the test track, which is cool. So there's that. Oh, right. And then in the newest update that we got just last month, we got the Record A Studio. Which you're probably thinking, well, wait, don't you have to beat the story in that DLC first? Yeah. However, I should mention that it is still a social space. You could go in there, hang out with friends. You could launch the Franklin and the Mar missions. But my point being, GTA Online does have some social spaces, but GTA Online is a completely different beast from PlayStation Home, because PlayStation Home, it was designed to be a social experience. GTA Online was just, hey, why not let players take a break from all the chaos out in Los Santos and Blaine County with social spaces where they can interact with people without blowing other people up? You know, like, hey, how about you put away that Oppressor Mark II? Okay, I guess it'll relieve some stress. So you go over to the casino, hang out, maybe gamble a bit. Unless, of course, you're in a country which does not allow gambling, in which case, sorry? But, moving on from the social space thing, which is one of the similarities between GTA Online and PlayStation Home. Although GTA Online is just more like a coincidence. You could customize your own character in both games. Although PlayStation Home, it's more like you don't have to pay like $100 or so to change your haircut. It's just, you could change your haircut if you want. You could buy new haircuts if you wanted in Home, which did cost real money, but when you consider the fact that Home itself was a beta, yeah, it didn't have its own integrated currency that you could earn just by playing, so, and I'll get to that in a moment about, like, my wish list. But um anyway, so I was gonna say, um, oh right, there were also some minigame-esque things you could do in GTA Online. Um, and one of them isn't necessarily a minigame per se, it's just something I made up, just out of respect for PlayStation Home. I don't use it for trolling, by the way. I do use it, but it doesn't have the bomb on it. It's just I use it to drive around at a specific location, and you're probably wondering where and why. Let me to show you. The Redwood Lights District. So, I should mention that I accidentally clicked on the dirt bike race, but you already know what I mean though. It's the Redwood Lights track. And the reason why this in particular is important to what I'm about to talk about with the RC Bandito is in PlayStation Home, there was a minigame called the RC Rally. Of course, it didn't have "the" in the name, it was just RC Rally. Um, and in that minigame, you would have a RC car which you could customize. Of course, when you first got it, it was just a basic blue RC car with just stock parts, but there were specific challenges you could do that would unlock different parts and cosmetics that would allow you to upgrade your performance and make your car look cooler. And you're probably wondering, what does this have anything to do with the RC Bandito? The RC Bandito is also customizable. Now, granted, you have to buy the customizations, and it's not really much of a performance enhancement, because the only things you could get are the jump, the prox mines, and the bomb. And, hold on, let me... Yeah, it's this little fella. Um, anyway, so we have the explosives, so you can't upgrade the engine. You could in PlayStation Home, but that's not the RC Bandito, that's just the RC car that you would use in the minigame. But I'll get to why the RC Bandito is important and why it's related to RC Rally. So we have the lids, which in Home, it would just be the body. There was also suspension upgrades you could get in that minigame, which I think it would allow you to have the ability to take much harder landings whenever you land from a jump. Because I've seen some videos on YouTube where people are playing that same minigame, and even if they land upright, because you could do stunts in the RC Rally minigame, you could do like flips and barrel rolls. If you landed the wrong way, obviously you would wipe out. But also, I've seen in videos where people will land right side up, but because of how far down the vehicle's body goes down, it basically trips up the vehicle and it makes it wipe out anyway. But with better shock absorption, it'll mitigate that. And of course, we also have the tires, which in GTA Online, even if you customize the tires on this thing, it's not going to make much of a difference. But I'm going to close that out. In Home, it would be that you would have different grip and stuff like that. You go faster, you would have better acceleration, you'd have better traction. Um, um, and you would also have like different visual customizations for the RC car too. Um, so for the body, it would already have its own livery attached to it, but there was no jump ability on the RC car in the RC Rally. There was a boost that you could get just by collecting a battery pickup, I think, but that was about it. Um, so, yeah, my point being, the RC Bandito, the reason why I'm talking about it and the RC Rally minigame in home is that, basically, the, the vehicle itself, the RC Bandito, it reminds me a lot of that minigame. And so I thought, wait a minute, there's that Redwood Lights track, and it its shape reminds me of the race car track used for the RC Rally game. And so I thought, what if I went to the Redwood Lights track, used the RC Bandito there, and raced around it like I would with that minigame? And ever since then, I would do it every once in a while, and brings back memories. But yeah, so that's why I was bringing up the RC Bandito with that minigame, is because this thing reminds me a lot of that minigame. Although obviously customization is vastly different, but yeah. Um, anyway, so now to the big thing. What is the evidence that home is returning? Well, let me show you. First off, let's go to the London Studio website. I should mention, we're going to go to the games first, because you're probably thinking, well, if these guys made the game, have they talked about it? So as I mentioned, Home came out 2008, right? I don't see a 2008. I see a 2009, I see a 2012, all that stuff. There is no 2008. And we go to Join Us, which has currently 12 listings at the time of this stream. Now, this morning when I checked this, originally it had, I think, 10 or 11? I don't remember. But I also want to bring up something else that, oh. Let me refresh this real quick. So, this right here was released almost a year ago, on March. So, what's so important about this little news article, news feed? So, going down to the bottom, we have this. So, there was a question towards the bottom of the news about the studio heads, saying, London Studio has a history of creating incredible games over the years. So with that in mind, what are your personal goals for where you want the studio to be in 5 years' time? Stuart talks about his goals, but then we have Tara, who says, yes, I want us to dream big and realize our full potential, but at the same time ensure that there's a real emphasis on ethical and sustainable game development practices. We have super strong values in place that mean we should be keeping in mind the importance of inclusivity, balance, and team spirit on a day-to-day basis. Our next project has huge potential, and we want to leverage that to the max by empowering the team to thrive and deliver a top quality game. Bear this in mind. A game with huge potential. I want you to keep that in mind as we go to the join us thing, because there are a lot of things to discuss that have popped up since my last time I was talking about the possibility of Homecoming to PS5. So, this right here is unrelated to what I'm talking about, but I might as well talk about it. This is just basically someone who, I didn't mean to say ooh. This is basically somebody who is tasked with checking the applications people send in to get a job, and they look for the most qualified people with the best possible experience. But then we have QA. Quality assurance. We have two of them. We have junior development support, and we have the regular development support. We're going to check on junior development first because it's the lesser of the two, but it's still fairly important. It says here in the overview, London Studio are building a team from the ground up for an upcoming PS5 online game. You'll see it says PlayStation 5, not PSVR 2. There was a post that was made a few months back on Twitter that was made by London Studio about some of the new job listings they had at that specific time. And someone in the comments asked, hey, will we need any knowledge about VR? And they ended up saying, no, you don't need that kind of knowledge because it's not a VR game. The reason why I bring this up is because this thereby confirms that this upcoming game is not going to be VR. It may have VR compatibility, but it's not going to be a PSVR 2 game. And yes, that is the official name for PlayStation VR's next upcoming version, which is PSVR 2. But anyway, quality is something that we immensely are proud of. Oh my god. First, I can't speak without stuttering, and now I can't read without messing up. Quality is something that we are immensely proud to be aiming for, and we are looking at putting the right team together to take us forward. Help take us forward, I'm sorry. New starters will be joining at the perfect time to get involved in shaping our plans for a project we are exceptionally passionate about. We are also part of a wider network of PlayStation studios, and there are lots of opportunities for collaboration and wider support from our sister studios like Insomniac, Guerrilla Games, Naughty Dog, Media Molecule, and more. Development support is an evolution of the QA tester role, bringing in more responsibilities and opportunities. Now, as it says here in the junior development, this is why I said it's the lesser of the two, but it's still fairly important. As a junior dev support, you will work closely with the tech team to test our new proprietary games engine and development tools, whilst collaborating with our developers to learn their workflows and how they create content that goes into the games we make. The junior development support role requires no previous games industry experience, and we're looking for hardworking individuals who want to help us make groundbreaking technology. And then it goes through all the scopes of work and everything like that. But basically the other one, which is just development support, is the same description as this, except just, well, you'll see. It doesn't mention anything about, junior stuff. It's just basically like full-on dev support. But it's still QA testing, so they'll get to test things out before they get out. So, like, for example, so for GTA Online, there are files in place on the Steam database called QA Beta 3, QA Beta 2, QA Beta 1. Those get updated whenever an update is fairly close. And by beta, they mean it's still in testing and that Rockstar is actively testing it out before it's shipped out to platforms. This is basically what QA testing would be. So they're hiring for people to test it out before it's ready to go. So that's basically what the dev support team thing is. But there have been some new things that popped up lately. So I should mention, in-house recruiter was already here. These two were added this morning, I believe. Wait, no. They were already there. These two are the newest ones. So they still have character artist, which is to make character designs. Level designer. You're probably thinking, level designer? I thought PlayStation Home had spaces you could freely go to. That is true, but in technical terms, they are still levels. They are still levels that you physically go to in the game. But they're called spaces in Home. So, yeah. Online programmer, obviously, just to, do networking stuff. Lead producer. This has been updated quite a bit. Okay. I did not check this at all until just now. So, this used to be way less detailed. But the reason why I'm checking on this now is because it's important. So of course we already talked about this. But then at London Studio we believe in working smarter, not harder. So looking for a motivated and charismatic lead producer to own our production processes and project schedule consolidation. As a lead producer, you'll play a pivotal role in motivating and developing your team to be class leading, and not just within the Sony PlayStation Studios family, but outside of it. You will be communicating both up and down the business on the project status, calling out icebergs as and when they crest the horizon, not just with gut feelings, but with the production data you have curated. We appreciate this is not always done by following the standard rulebook, so our lead producer will help propose and evangelize doing things. Both using their own experience and employing an active listening approach to take into consideration the experience, past and present, of your production team leads. So, yeah. Basically, this is the leader of the project. Going back. Level designer, I already talked about all that stuff. Technical artist. It's just related to the internal technology and all that stuff. The stuff that goes into the game engine. And of course the artist for the actual game itself. Same thing with this. Senior artist. External development. Did I mention that PlayStation Home had developers outside of Sony that would partner up with them to bring content to home? If not, then let me tell you this. It's happened, and it will happen. So, let me explain. So, when the original PlayStation Home was around, there were a number of outside partners that partnered up with PlayStation to make things such as public spaces, personal spaces, avatar clothing, stuff like that, all into PlayStation Home. So you're probably thinking, so what the hell do they mean by external development? That's exactly it. External, meaning outside of Sony, but still a partner, as you will find out in this little job listing. About the role, we are looking for highly skilled senior artists to join our team, who are willing to take focus and responsibility for external development across our world art. This senior artist role is part of the internal environment art team, and the ideal candidate will be expected to drive and guide our external partners in crafting a wide range of assets, vehicles, weapons, and level art. In addition to this, you'll be developing our external artist to help them maintain a consistent visual direction of our IP, provide feedback and supervise content and ensure it meets the highest quality and performance. So, yeah. Basically, what this is the regular kind of artist who works with external developers. If you hear a stomach growling, that's mine. Anyway, so you're probably wondering, external developers. Something just clicked. So, it says the same exact thing here, basically. So, connecting with external companies and contractors with assistance. By contractors, they mean companies that are wanting to partner up with Sony for a special kind of partnership deal. To name a specific example, one would be Red Bull, because there was a really cool thing they did where they were marketing Red Bull within PlayStation Home, and they had public spaces, they had some private spaces, I think. They had quite a few mini games, and it was all to market Red Bull. That's what they mean by an external company and contractor, is that it would be a company that is not within the first party teams of Sony, but it could be like an outside team. So it could even be another game company, like, for example, Activision or Ubisoft or something along those lines. But going back to the job listings, senior character artists. Now you'll see it says artists, not artist. Multiple. About the role, we are looking for highly skilled game character artists to join our team. Oh wait, I guess it was a typo because the other one that we were looking at, it also said artists with an S at the end instead of just artist. And I'm talking about the description. The actual job listing is still called senior artist, but it is what it is. So it says here, characters, skins, creatures, weapons, and gear. So, yeah. But with that being said, you're probably wondering, so, wait a minute, hold on. Didn't you mention something about, you know, yeah, I did. So, this right here. So, this was first posted last year in April. Alright? Now, granted, I was actually trying to look for another one, but, with the Sega PlayStation Home. Actually, that does make sense, because, ew. There was a, Sega thing. Like, there were quite a few Sega things, such as Sonic Adventure 2. You could get a t-shirt for playing the game. There it is. So, this. I still remember last year, whenever I was just coming, not just getting home, but it was whenever me, my papa, and my aunt and my cousin were all heading home from Colorado. Um, but what happened was on the way home, I saw a video notification on YouTube on my phone, and come to find out, one of the things in that video was discussing this. You're probably thinking, well, what is this? The trademark was renewed in July last year. More specifically on the 21st, which happened to be the day when I left for Colorado last year. But here's the thing. Nobody has talked about the fact that it's been updated again in October.